Hello everyone. We make many videos on mysterious and paranormal stories of strange events from the past. But this time, it's a little different. This is a video about some of the most disturbing and thrilling incidents on which some famous movies and series are based. We will be discussing each story with detail, so sit back and enjoy this documentary with Mysteries Unfolded.
Ravenwood had always been a quiet place, nestled in the heart of a dense forest. Life moved slowly here, with days marked by the ringing of the church bell and nights by the howling of wolves. But everything changed when the old mansion on the hill was sold. When the Ravenwood mansion was sold and no one knew who bought it, a young woman, Sarah, was the first to notice the changes. She had always been drawn to the mansion, and she decided to uncover the secrets of the mansion. If you are enjoying this snippet of our Ravenwood Haunting ebook, you can check it out by clicking the first link in the description or the pinned comment. Use code MYSTERY01 to get a special discount.
Gypsy Rose Blanchard's childhood was a prison of abuse, manipulation, and isolation. Her mother, Dee Dee Blanchard, fabricated a narrative of Gypsy Rose's illnesses, claiming she suffered from leukemia, muscular dystrophy, seizures, vision and hearing problems, and other conditions. Most of these claims were exaggerated or entirely fabricated, but they served as a means for Dee Dee to control every aspect of Gypsy Rose's life. Dee Dee's abuse extended to medical child abuse, subjecting Gypsy Rose to unnecessary medical treatments, including chemotherapy, medications, and surgeries. She forced Gypsy Rose to use a wheelchair, despite being able to walk, perpetuating the illusion of her supposed illnesses. This confinement not only restricted Gypsy Rose's physical freedom, but also reinforced her dependence on Dee Dee. Gypsy Rose's isolation was another key aspect of her abuse. She was homeschooled and had limited contact with friends or family members, preventing her from forming connections outside of her toxic relationship with Dee Dee. This isolation made it difficult for Gypsy Rose to question her mother's claims or seek help. Dee Dee's physical and emotional abuse was relentless. She shaved Gypsy Rose's head, controlled her diet, and dictated every aspect of her life. Gypsy Rose was forced to act like a child, wearing childish clothing and engaging in childish activities, further solidifying her dependence on Dee Dee. As Gypsy Rose grew older, Dee Dee's manipulation became more sophisticated. She used punishment and rewards to control Gypsy Rose's behavior, withholding food or medication when she disobeyed. Dee Dee also gaslighted Gypsy Rose, making her question her own perceptions and sanity. This psychological manipulation made it difficult for Gypsy Rose to distinguish reality from her mother's fabricated narrative. Gypsy Rose's access to information was severely limited. She had no internet or phone until she was older, and her mother monitored her every move using cameras and alarms. This surveillance ensured that Gypsy Rose remained trapped in her mother's web of abuse. Dee Dee's financial exploitation of Gypsy Rose's supposed illnesses added another layer of complexity to their toxic relationship. She received donations, benefits, and free services, all based on the false narrative of Gypsy Rose's illnesses. This financial gain further motivated Dee Dee to maintain her control over Gypsy Rose. In June 2015, Gypsy Rose and her boyfriend, Nicholas Godejohn, hatched a plan to kill Dee Dee Blanchard. Gypsy Rose, who had been isolated and controlled by her mother for her entire life, saw this as an opportunity to escape her toxic relationship and gain freedom. The planning phase was extensive, with Gypsy Rose and Godejohn discussing details online and over the phone. Gypsy Rose provided Godejohn with information about her mother's daily routine, including her sleep schedule and medication use. She also gave him a knife, which he would later use to commit the crime. Godejohn, who had a history of mental health issues and a fascination with violence, was eager to carry out the attack. On June 14, 2015, Godejohn traveled to the Blanchard home in Springfield, Missouri, and checked into a nearby hotel. Gypsy Rose, who had been preparing for this moment, waited anxiously at home. She had packed a bag and was ready to leave with Godejohn after the murder. That night, Godejohn entered the Blanchard home through a window, while Gypsy Rose waited in the bathroom. He made his way to Dee Dee's bedroom, where he found her sleeping. Godejohn stabbed Dee Dee multiple times, including in the back and chest. Gypsy Rose, who had given him the knife, had instructed him to make sure her mother was dead. After the attack, Godejohn returned to the bathroom where Gypsy Rose was waiting. She asked him if her mother was dead, and he confirmed that she was. Together they cleaned up the crime scene, disposing of evidence and attempting to cover their tracks. In the aftermath of the murder, Gypsy Rose and Godejohn went on the run. After the murder, Gypsy Rose and Godejohn fled Missouri, driving to Wisconsin in Gypsy Rose's car. They stayed in various hotels and motels, using cash and prepaid cards to avoid detection. However, their actions were being closely monitored by authorities, who had launched a nationwide manhunt. On June 16, 2015, 2 days after the murder, the Wisconsin Police Department received a tip about a suspicious couple matching Gypsy Rose and Godejohn's description. The tip led them to a motel in Wisconsin Dells, where they found Gypsy Rose's car parked outside. At around 10 p.m., officers from the Wisconsin Police Department and the FBI surrounded the motel room. They knocked on the door, and Gypsy Rose answered, appearing nervous and agitated. Godejohn was found hiding in the bathroom. The officers arrested both Gypsy Rose and Godejohn without incident. They were taken into custody and read their Miranda rights. During the arrest, Gypsy Rose asked to speak with her father, Rod Blanchard, who was notified and arrived at the scene. Gypsy Rose and Godejohn were then transported to the Wisconsin Police Department headquarters for questioning. They were interrogated separately, with Gypsy Rose requesting an attorney early on. Godejohn, however, waived his right to an attorney and provided a statement to authorities. The investigation revealed that Gypsy Rose had used her mother's credit card to book the motel room and purchase supplies. They also found evidence of their plan to flee to Canada. Authorities seized their belongings, including Gypsy Rose's phone, which contained incriminating messages and emails between her and Godejohn. Gypsy Rose and Godejohn were later extradited to Missouri, where they faced charges related to Dee Dee's murder. Gypsy Rose was charged with second-degree murder, while Godejohn was charged with first-degree murder. The arrest marked the end of a tragic and disturbing case that drew national attention to the complexities of child abuse, Munchausen syndrome by proxy, and the devastating consequences of manipulation and control.
Hey, Gypsy. This is Stan. Hi, Gypsy. Let you guys talk. I'm Detective Hancock. I'm with Green County Sheriff's Office. How are you? What is the correct spelling of your first name?
It's Gypsy.
And I want you to understand that you need to be honest with me. And if you're involved in anything that I'm about ready to tell you, then you need to tell me. Okay? Your mom's dead. Okay? Now, what I want to ask you is your mom's passed away. Okay? And she's deceased. All right? Now, what I want to ask you, did you have involvement in this? Okay?
No.
Hang on, listen to me for just a second, okay? I want you to understand something, okay? Remember the snowball that we talked about? You remember the pencil that we talked about? I'm going to demonstrate something with a pencil here, okay? Look at me. Look at me for just a second, okay? Sometimes people are going along, you know how you got a pencil? You got the lead here and you got the eraser right here, right? You know what I'm talking about? You've seen a pencil, right? You've used a pencil before, right? Okay? And when you write with a pencil, you write your own story, right?
I do have a phone, but it doesn't call people. I just basically used it for Yahoo messaging app, and one of the people that had texted me, I had texted him that I was leaving home, and he texted me, and he's like, "Are you okay? People have been posting some stuff on Facebook," and I asked him what post. And unfortunately, police came before I could even read what he was saying. So I guess he was trying to tell me something.
Okay. Do you see that that's what your friends, all your friends are wondering why?
Mm-hmm.
Even that friend that you're talking about is wondering why?
Mm-hmm.
Leah's worried about you?
Oh, Leah? Are you kidding me?
Look at me. Look at me.
Leah's always been a bully to me.
Okay, but look at me. This time is different. This time is a lot different. She's very concerned about you, sweetheart. Very.
What about my Aunt Rachel?
Okay. Why did this happen?
I don't know.
You do know why it happened. Okay?
I don't know why it happened.
Let me tell you something. I walk out that door.
Did she have a heart attack? She was
Hey,
sick.
look at me. We're not going to play those games. I'm not going to do that. That's not what I'm here to do. Okay? Then start being honest with yourself. And start being honest with me.
I don't know if you even know this, but my mom had guardianship papers for me.
Sweetheart, look at me, okay? Stop letting this get out of control. Stop. Yeah, you do know. And that's smart. I'm proud of you for saying that you know, because you do know. And you're going to let this get so far out of control that there's no way you're going to dig yourself out of it. And I'm here, okay? Because your family and your friends, and I know all of them are just your friends and they're not your family, but you might as well consider them family.
I do.
Because every one of them care about you.
I do consider them.
And I get phone calls all the time.
He said he hated my mom, but because my mom didn't want to stay together. But I was getting on my mom's nerves. Her nerve medicine was running out. Her patience was getting very thin for me, sticking up for him every time.
Good job, proud of you. You did a good job.
And so she asked me to stay away from him, and I promised her I would.
Okay.
But then she just said, "Well, if you want to go, go."
Okay.
I guess out of love she did that.
Okay.
Because she wanted me to be happy.
So why did this happen to your mom? What was the reason for it?
I don't know. All I know is that
Why didn't it hurt her? Sweetheart, what was his reason behind this? And we're back to that why.
I can't see why. He knows I love my mom. He knows that she's the most important thing to me.
So why do you think he did this to her?
He only said something to me that he said that it's us against the world. and that he's gonna protect me no matter what, and that we were gonna get married and everything, and nothing was gonna stop us.
Okay, even your mom. So he took care of that, didn't he?
What do you mean? I don't think he would ever hurt her. I mean, he's very sweet. He's very kind. I mean, he doesn't like police that much. He's kind of a radicalist, I guess you would call it.
Okay.
But,
Sweetheart, your mom loves you very much. So we're not going to go off on what Nick believes and what he doesn't believe. Okay?
okay.
But we're going to start talking about why Nick did this to your mom. That to
I
you.
honestly would never hurt my mom, but I'm not.
But why did Nick hurt her? Now's the time to be truthful, sweetheart. No more lies.
The only reason I can think of is because he wanted me to himself.
Okay.
Because my mom kept on getting in the way of us being together.
Sure she did. She didn't like Nick. She didn't want her little baby girl to grow up. She wanted to keep her little baby girl young, didn't she?
She said that there was something dangerous about him. She had a way of reading people.
Okay.
And she said that he seems like the head in a closet type of person, the kind that murders and kills, and
Your
like
mom was right.
Jeffrey Dahmer kind of person.
You think your mom was right? You know your mom was right. You hit her right on the nail on the head, sweetheart. You know your mom was right when she said that. You should know what? Okay. And how should you have listened to her?
I should have broke up with him.
Okay. Should you try to stop him? Was he too strong?
He was very strong.
Was it hard for you to try to stop him? It was very hard for you to try to stop him, wasn't it? He's too strong, wasn't he? Yeah, I see that. Look at me. Did you try to stop him?
I lied to you from the beginning. I'll tell you the truth all now.
Good. I'm proud of you. I'm proud of you.
I love him so much, but maybe he can get help now.
Okay.
For his silent ways.
Maybe he can.
He killed my mom.
He killed your mom.
Yes, I know it.
How did you do that?
He was supposed to come and visit me.
Okay.
And I thought we were gonna go outside and we're just gonna sit together for a while on the porch. And
Out at your mom's house?
yeah.
Okay.
And he came inside and he started walking to my mom's room, and I told him that he needed to go outside. We need to go outside.
What was your mom doing at that point? Was she asleep?
She was asleep, and I got up to use the restroom. And at that point, he had put me in the bathroom, and he had locked the door.
Okay.
And he went to my mom's room, and I heard her cry. I heard him scream my name.
You heard your mom crying. You heard your mom crying, and you heard your mom calling out your name. But
And he was screaming.
she was screaming.
And
I'm proud of you,
and
sweetheart.
he opened the door, and he was covered in his hands and blood, and he had cut himself with his finger.
You know if it was his left hand or his right hand?
It was, oh gosh, it was this hand.
Okay. said that he had locked you in the bathroom. Describe how that happened.
As I was going towards my mom's room, because I was coming like here, and it's a hallway. And I was like, where are you going? And he put me in the bathroom. He closed the door, and but first he locked the door in the way that it locked itself.
Were you inside the bathroom when you
I was
locked it?
inside the bathroom.
Okay. And so you can lock it from the outside?
No, he put it like to lock inside, and then he closed it.
So the lock was on the inside
The
where
lock
you were
was
at?
in the inside.
Okay, so how come you never unlocked it and came out?
I never thought about it. And
At that point, did you know what his intentions were?
not really, no.
You didn't know what his intentions were with your mom?
No. I was kind of afraid of him, so I thought I'd give him time to cool off, I guess. And then I heard all the screaming, and I was so scared that I just covered my ears. And I just crawled up in a little corner.
Where were you at in the bathroom? You said you were curled up.
By the tub, like by the toilet. I was there.
Okay, I'm asking you direct and straight. You don't think he's going to tell me that you had anything to do with your mom's killing? And this is the time to be honest, because like I told you, to walk out that door.
He has a romantic notion of us doing everything together as a team, but I didn't want this. I wanted my mom and him to...
So did you kill your mom?
No, sir.
Did you help
No, sir.
Nicholas kill your mom?
No, sir. No, sir.
Did you have knowledge that Nicholas was going to kill your mom
No, sir.
before he did it?
No, sir.
Okay, sit tight for me, okay? Talk to your boyfriend. There's a whole lot of stuff you're leaving out, girl.
Like what?
Well, I'm not going to get into it with you, okay? You're leaving a lot of stuff out that you need to probably tell me. Do you want to talk to me about it? Tell me about it?
Sure, I'll tell you.
Okay.
I'll tell you.
You planned this with him, okay? You didn't get locked in the bathroom, okay? I'm not stupid.
I know.
First of all, the lock's on this side, so you can't get locked in there.
I know.
Okay, you went in there because you brought that knife into the picture. You brought the idea into the picture.
I didn't bring the idea.
You did bring it into. You brought the whole thing in the idea,
No.
and he did it for you.
No.
Yeah.
No.
He did. Okay? So, the lies, they're done. I'm not going to sit in here all night long.
No, I
Honest
won't
with
give you. I won't give you. Like, I did not think of this. I know that he has a evil side, and he did want to do it.
Okay, I understand that. I understand that.
He wanted to get rid of my mom.
Yeah, for you.
Yes, for me.
Yeah, because you asked him to.
He wanted to.
Yeah, because you asked him to. Plain and simple.
We.
Gypsy, we're not playing this game, okay? You asked him to. That's why he did it. Okay? Plain and simple. We're not playing this game. I'm not going to spend all my night long listening to your lies anymore. You told me the truth on some things, but you left a lot of stuff out. You left a lot of stuff out. So we're not playing this game, okay? He's already told me everything. Everything.
We're both trying.
The knife was mailed. You guys mailed it here, okay? We know where the knife's at. So the gig's up. You're done. It's up. You're done. You're done. You hated your mom?
I did not hate my mom. I did not hate my mom. I loved my mom, and he.
You would have
needs,
never done this to your mom.
He needs to tell you that I honestly have been having horrible, and I didn't want to do it. And he said that he would commit suicide if we didn't.
Yeah.
Did he tell you that?
Yep. Yep.
I said that it was a bad thought that I was thinking, and Yeah, I don't think that we should be doing this.
A lot of people think about stuff, but when you act, that's when you cross the line. And that's what you've done. You acted upon it, and he acted upon it. So, okay, we're done. You're obviously going to keep telling me lies.
I'm not, sir. I'm not, sir.
All right.
Everything that happened with Elizabeth Fritzl in her adulthood is just as shocking and disturbing as everything shown in the movie The Girl in the Basement.
Dad! Dad!
Elizabeth Fritzl grew up in a pretty average Austrian family with her parents, Joseph and Rosemarie, and her 6 siblings. But she didn't see the dark turn coming after her 18th birthday. Joseph Fritzl's manipulation of Elizabeth began long before he imprisoned her in the basement. He had a history of controlling behavior, and Elizabeth was his primary target. He used a combination of emotional blackmail, gaslighting, and physical violence to break her spirit and gain control over her. Fritzl convinced Elizabeth that she was worthless and that no one else would ever love her. He told her that she was lucky to have him as a father and that he was the only one who truly cared for her. He used her desire for love and acceptance against her, making her believe that she needed him to survive. One day, Fritzl told Elizabeth that he wanted her help with a project down in the basement. As she walked down the stairs, the 24-year-long timer started without her knowing. All confused and almost completely cut off from the outside world, she didn't know what was to come. Elizabeth Fritzl's life in the basement was a prolonged and harrowing experience. The physical conditions of the basement were bleak, with a cramped and dingy space that measured approximately 50 square meters. The air was stale, and the only natural light came from a small window that was often covered. The temperature was consistently cold, with inadequate heating. Despite these harsh conditions, Elizabeth tried to maintain some sense of normalcy, creating a daily routine that included cleaning, cooking, and exercising. Joseph Fritzl exerted total control over Elizabeth's life, dictating every aspect of her existence. He subjected her to regular beatings, rapes, and psychological manipulation, convincing her that the outside world was dangerous and that she was safer in the basement. He monitored her every move, using cameras and microphones to ensure she complied with his rules. Elizabeth's only source of comfort was her children, whom she tried to protect from their grandfather's abuse. She taught them to read, write, and play, trying to provide some sense of normalcy in their lives. Elizabeth's pregnancies and childbirth were particularly traumatic. She gave birth to 7 children, 3 of whom were raised by Joseph and Rosemarie in the upstairs part of the house. The other 4 children remained in the basement with Elizabeth. She was forced to endure grueling labor without medical assistance, resulting in complications and trauma. Despite the risks, Elizabeth tried to care for her children, providing them with love and support in the midst of unimaginable horror. The psychological impact of Elizabeth's captivity was devastating. She experienced intense fear, anxiety, and depression, developing coping mechanisms such as dissociation and denial to survive the trauma. Despite the unimaginable horrors she endured, Elizabeth's resilience and determination allowed her to survive and ultimately escape her father's clutches. Her only connection to the outside world was through the television and newspapers her father brought her. She was forced to rely on her father for all her needs, creating a toxic dynamic of dependence and control. This total monstrosity continued for 24 long years. Despite this, Elizabeth held onto the dream of one day escaping and rebuilding her life. In 2008, that dream finally became a reality. Josef Fritzl's arrest was a culmination of a series of events that began on April 19, 2008, when his daughter Kirsten, who was being held captive in the basement, became seriously ill. Elizabeth, who had been imprisoned for 24 years, begged Fritzl to take Kirsten to a hospital. Fritzl reluctantly agreed. However, Kirsten's condition worsened and she fell into a coma. The hospital staff became suspicious of evasive answers about Kirsten's medical history and her family. On April 26, 2008, the hospital staff contacted the police and reported their suspicions. The police launched an investigation and began questioning Fritzl. Initially, he denied any wrongdoing, but as the police dug deeper, they discovered inconsistencies in his story. The police obtained a search warrant for Fritzl's house and discovered the secret basement where Elizabeth and the children had been held captive. They found Elizabeth and the children, who were malnourished and traumatized. Fritzl was arrested on April 26, 2008, and charged with multiple counts of rape, incest, and false imprisonment. He was held in pretrial detention, where he underwent psychological evaluation. Fritzl's trial began in March 2009. He was sentenced to life imprisonment without parole.
Hey, if you guys are enjoying the video and want to support the channel and get exclusive perks at the same time, become a channel member for the low price of $4.99 a month. You can check out the link in description or click the join button. Now back to the video.
I certainly wouldn't tell you.
Are you sure there's nobody else in the house?
Zodiac is a 2007 movie, which is based on a serial killer who sets out on a killing spree.
I've walked it.
The movie has a stacked cast with Robert Downey Jr., Jake Gyllenhaal, and Mark Ruffalo as the lead actors of the film.
Fantastic.
The real Zodiac story begins with two Lompoc High School seniors, fiancés Robert Domingos and Linda Edwards, while sunbathing on a beach near Gaviota State Park during their senior ditch day in June 1963. The two were bound with rope and were shot 11 and 9 times respectively. Their bodies were dragged to a nearby shack where Robert's father found them soon after. Similarly, in October 1966, Cherie Bates left her father a note to say she'd gone to the Riverside City College library only for her Volkswagen Beetle to be found abandoned there the next day, and her stabbed corpse left between two nearby houses. The local paper received a typed confession from the supposed killer 1 month later, and the following year, the newspaper, police, and Bates's father all received similar handwritten letters signed Z. These events wouldn't be linked to the Zodiac killer until years later. The story continues with more high schoolers, Betty Lou Jensen and David Faraday, whose first date took place in December 1968. According to passing motorists, they were parked at a lover's lane in Benicia before Jensen was found shot in her back in the front seat, and Faraday shot in the head outside the vehicle. In Vallejo the following year, married mother Darlene Farine parked in another lover's lane with Michael Magot. they were approached by a stranger who shot them both. Farron died of her injuries, but Mageau survived. The killing of Darlene Farron is where David Fincher's Zodiac begins its story.
What are you wearing?
I'm cold.
You're cold on the 4th of July.
On July 31st, 1969, 3 letters were posted to the Vallejo Times-Herald, the San Francisco Chronicle, and the San Francisco Examiner, respectively. These were mostly identical, detailing the weapons and ammunition used in the murders. They stated, "I like killing because it's so much fun," and threatened to kill again if the publications refused to publish his attached cipher. Another letter was sent to the Examiner 5 days later, teasing the police for failing to solve the cipher. "When they do crack it, they will have me." This letter features the first use of the name the Zodiac. San Francisco Chronicle published their cipher, but it didn't stop the killing. The following September, college students Brian Hartnell and Cecilia Shepard were both stabbed by a man wearing a hooded costume and the Zodiac symbol. Shepard died of her wounds, but Hartnell survived. 1 month later, 28-year-old cab driver Paul Stein was shot in the head and had a piece of his shirt removed. SFPD's Dave Toschi investigated the scene and would soon become the inspector most famously related to the case. Toschi considered Stein's death part of a routine robbery until the killer sent a letter to the San Francisco Chronicle that included the missing piece of Stein's blood-stained shirt to prove his legitimacy. The Chronicle soon became the Zodiac's primary correspondence for publication, sending them 2 more letters that year. The letters included ciphers and accounts of the police nearly catching him, but ignorantly letting him go. They would go on to receive several more letters from the Zodiac throughout 1970, some denying involvement in recent crimes, others claiming responsibility. Enjoying the fame Avery's articles provided him, the Zodiac demanded in April 1970 that the people of San Francisco's Bay Area wear Zodiac buttons featuring his symbol. In July 1970, he complained about the lack of Zodiac buttons being worn. The Chronicle decided against publishing a few Zodiac letters at this time, with Avery controlling the narrative himself. As a result, the killer likely became frustrated and began targeting Avery personally. 1 year after receiving Paul Stein's bloody clothing in the mail, Avery received a Halloween card that read, "From your secret pal, Peekaboo, you are doomed," and the number 14, implying either the Zodiac had claimed an unidentified 14th victim, or that it could be Avery himself. The Zodiac killings seemed to stop in the following years. This was seemingly contradicted by a letter to the Albany Times-Union in August 1973 that stated where and when he would kill again. The police failed to identify any murders from that date to relate to the Zodiac, and handwriting experts were unable to verify whether it was even written by the same person. Another letter to the Chronicle in 1974 stated, "Me 37, SFPD 0 inches," implying the killer had claimed 37 victims by then and was still at large. Ultimately, the Zodiac's identity remained a mystery, with Toschi convinced it was Arthur Lee Allen, a teacher and child molester who had served 3 years in a mental hospital. Unfortunately for Toschi, though, Allen's fingerprints and handwriting didn't match the killer's, and he passed a polygraph test that Allen said went on for 10 hours. Police quietly reopened the case in 1991. 1969's Zodiac survivor, Michael Mageau, identified Allen from a mugshot in 1991.
It's him.
But the Vallejo Police Department deemed this to be invalid since, by his own admission, Mageau never got a good look at the gunman at the time. Allen died in 1992. Robert Graysmith would go on to write the book that Fincher's movie was based on, both of which attempt to provide some closure by surmising that Allen was the Zodiac, but that he died before the police could question him again after Mageau's supposedly valid statement. The Zodiac film didn't do good in box office and was a theatrical flop, but that fact would shock some fans today because they think it is a masterpiece. Let's see how accurate the movie was and compare it with the real case. The movie shows Zodiac suspect Arthur Lee Allen wearing a watch that bears the killer's symbol and the brand name Zodiac. The real Arthur Lee Allen wore an identical watch, the Zodiac Seawolf watch. In the movie, we watch as Robert becomes obsessed with his amateur Zodiac investigation, which eventually results in the destruction of his marriage to Melanie. In real life, the Zodiac book took Robert 10 years to complete, and it cost him his marriage. When asked if he regrets his obsession with the Zodiac killer, Graysmith responded, "It affected my life in one bad way because I got divorced. But on the other hand, I have the greatest kids." In a separate interview, Graysmith said, "In the end, it wasn't all bad. I think had I to do it over again, I probably would do it." In the movie, a police officer spotted the Zodiac killer after the taxicab murder. That is true. The officer who was inside the police car, Don Fook, told ABC's Primetime in 2002.
The Zodiac. This person outweighed the person that I saw that night by about 100 pounds, I would estimate, just an estimate, which took him out. His face, even though it's round, was too round. I don't recall him showing me a photograph of a profile that he says he did of Arthur Allen, but Zodiac had a widow's peak, hair coming in the center more and receding on both sides of the forehead. I don't know if that's the proper term for it, but that's what my parents used to call it. That was my impression at the time, is that it was not Lee Allen.
In the movie, Graysmith visits the home of a man who supposedly knew Zodiac suspect Rick Marshall.
The poster that Rick...
He goes there in search of film canisters that may contain Zodiac murder footage. When Graysmith is in the man's home, he asks him about the movie posters that Rick Marshall drew. The man tells Graysmith that it wasn't Marshall who drew the movie posters, it was him. He then takes Graysmith into the basement, where Graysmith hears footsteps above him.
Are you sure there's nobody else in the house?
Even though the man had told him they were alone. This is all true, and really happened to Graysmith, even the footsteps. Some investigators who have researched the case believe that this man and Rick Marshall may have been working together.
Thank you.
To this day, the Zodiac killer has not been identified and will always remain as one of the most mysterious cases we have ever seen.
Can I help you?
No.
So according to YouTube statistics, 97.5% of you guys are not subscribed. So, if you like to watch our videos and want us to continue making them, then hit that subscribe button. Let's get this bar to at least 50% before the end of the year. Okay, on to the last case.
The Exorcist.
The Exorcist. Supposedly the scariest movie of all time.
Excellent day for an exorcism.
I went to check it out. The manager of the National Theater in Westwood says that there indeed are at least a dozen people who faint or become ill during every showing. But The Exorcist is still drawing sellout houses for every performance, complete with lines around the block. I spent an evening in the lobby just to see if people really do come stumbling out in the middle of the picture, as reported. They did, so I asked them why.
It just scared me to death. Things just like this, really scared me to death. I'm just nervous.
Do you remember what particular scene it was that...
When she was in, what was it? When she was in a room, the doctors came in, and I guess it was when she was talking the devil's voice. Oh God, I can't believe it.
Keep away! This hour is mine!
Are you going to go back in and see more of the movie now?
Probably, yeah.
What are you gonna do right now?
I don't want to see it, but my curiosity is killing me. I have to see it.
I fainted like 10 minutes after the first beginning of the movie. And I walked out and they gave me some water.
Yeah. Do you remember what caused you to faint?
Well, they started that spinal tap or whatever so. And I started closing my eyes and I could hear the gagging and I was getting sicker and I walked up the aisle with my friend and I was just ready to pass out.
Yeah.
I passed out in about the first half hour, yeah.
Do you remember what it was, what scene it was that affected you so much?
Convulsions, when she took convulsions. Because I have a little girl, and it was like watching my little girl.
I think it's disgusting.
Why?
I don't know, it doesn't, it doesn't make me want to get sick like everybody says. It just, my legs are just going, and I want to go in the lobby and not watch it, and I have to cover my ears.
What was it that made that happen?
Just when she started talking like devil coming out of her.
How about you?
I can't even describe it. It's so horrible. It just... I don't know why I waited 4 hours to see that.
The devil made her did it, I bet.
I am sure you guys have seen the most iconic horror film of all time, The Exorcist. Well, you guys might be surprised to learn that the movie was inspired by real-life events. Spoiler warning, in the movie we see that the young girl Regan starts acting strange and starts levitating, speaking in tongues, so her worried mother seeks medical help, only to hit a dead end. A local priest, however, thinks the girl may be seized by the devil. The priest makes a request to perform an exorcism, and the church sends in an expert to help with the difficult job. While this story has a special place in my heart, it is definitely not the exact story which happened in real life, so we'll uncover the real story. Okay, let's begin with the real story. The case of Ronald Edwin Hunkeler, known publicly as Roland Doe, begins in the early 1940s in Maryland. Ronald, born in 1931, was a seemingly normal boy until his life took a dark turn due to his interaction with the occult. Reports say that at this time this boy was anywhere from 12 to 14 years old. His aunt, who had a fascination with spiritualism and the supernatural, introduced him to a Ouija board. This seemingly innocuous board, designed for communicating with the dead, would become the catalyst for a series of terrifying events that would shake Ronald's family and eventually capture the attention of the wider public. It all began when the family got the news of the death of the boy's aunt.
The family learns Millie has suddenly died.
The initial signs of trouble were subtle but unsettling.
It's upstairs.
Again.
Better go see.
The Hunkeler family reported hearing scratching noises from within the walls of their home. These noises were persistent and appeared to have no logical source. Objects within the house seemed to move on their own. Family members would find items displaced or rearranged without explanation. Additionally, there were sudden, unexplained drops in temperature throughout the house, which further contributed to an atmosphere of fear and unease. As these disturbances grew more frequent, Ronald began to exhibit alarming changes in behavior. He would experience violent outbursts and convulsions that seemed beyond his control. Observers noted that Ronald displayed an unusual level of physical strength during these episodes. For example, he was reportedly able to move heavy furniture or throw objects with significant force, feats that seemed impossible for a boy of his age and build. His physical contortions during these convulsions were described as grotesque and alarming, contributing to the growing concern among his family and friends. The situation escalated when Ronald began speaking in languages that he had no apparent way of learning. Witnesses described how Ronald would speak in Latin and other ancient languages, which was particularly distressing given his limited educational background. This phenomenon was seen as a significant sign of demonic possession, as it suggested knowledge that was beyond his normal capacity. In addition to speaking in unfamiliar languages, Ronald exhibited a profound aversion to religious symbols. Crucifixes, holy water, and other sacred objects provoked intense reactions from him, including violent outbursts and extreme fear. these reactions were interpreted by those around him as evidence of a supernatural presence, consistent with traditional descriptions of demonic possession. The mounting evidence of Ronald's possession led his family to seek help from their Lutheran pastor. The pastor, having witnessed some of the troubling phenomena firsthand, was deeply concerned and suggested that Ronald might be suffering from a form of possession. However, the pastor was not equipped to handle such a situation and could only advise the family to seek help from the Catholic Church, which was known for its practices related to exorcism and dealing with supernatural phenomena. The family contacted Father E. Albert Hughes, a local Catholic priest who took a keen interest in the case. Despite initial skepticism, Father Hughes was alarmed by the severity of Ronald's condition and reached out to the Jesuits at Georgetown University for further evaluation. The Jesuit priests, including Father William Bodern and Father Walter Halloran, conducted a thorough assessment of Ronald's symptoms and concluded that they were consistent with those described in cases of demonic possession. They noted the extreme reactions to religious symbols, Ronald's abnormal physical strength, and his ability to speak in languages he could not have learned. Based on these findings, the Archdiocese of Washington authorized a formal exorcism. The exorcisms began in late 1949 and continued into early 1950. The rituals followed the Roman Catholic rite of exorcism, which includes a series of prayers, ceremonies, and the use of religious artifacts intended to expel demonic entities. The process was rigorous and included the use of holy water, the recitation of prayers from the Roman ritual, and the invocation of saints and religious relics. The exorcisms took place in various locations, including the Hunkler family home and a residence affiliated with Georgetown University. These locations were chosen to create a controlled environment where the priests could manage Ronald's intense reactions more effectively. During the exorcisms, Ronald was often restrained to prevent him from causing harm to himself or others. The violent convulsions and outbursts necessitated these precautions. The priests reported witnessing a range of phenomena that they interpreted as evidence of a demonic presence. Ronald's body was marked with unexplained scratches and wounds, which were viewed as manifestations of the demonic force. Additionally, objects in the room, such as furniture and religious artifacts, were said to move on their own, which was seen as further proof of the supernatural struggle taking place. One particularly intense exorcism session involved a severe convulsion during which Ronald displayed extreme physical and psychological distress. The priests intensified their prayers and rituals, invoking various saints and holy figures in an effort to expel the demonic entity. This session was marked by heightened resistance from Ronald, with the priests describing a dramatic struggle between the forces of good and evil. The breakthrough came when Ronald reportedly experienced a significant convulsion, followed by a period of calm. This change in demeanor was interpreted as evidence that the demonic presence was being expelled. By early 1950, the exorcisms appeared to have successfully alleviated Ronald's symptoms. Reports indicated that he had returned to a more stable and normal life. The details of the exorcism were kept relatively confidential for several years, but the case eventually attracted significant interest within the Catholic community. It wasn't until the early 1960s that the case gained broader public attention. William Peter Blatty, a former Georgetown student and aspiring writer, became fascinated by Ronald's case. Blatty learned about the exorcism through his connections at Georgetown University and was inspired to write a novel based on the events. His 1971 book, *The Exorcist*, was a fictionalized account of the real-life case, exploring themes of demonic possession and the battle between good and evil. The novel was met with widespread acclaim, praised for its gripping narrative, psychological depth, and chilling portrayal of the supernatural. That is the end of the video. Comment down below if you have seen any of these movies, and make sure to like and subscribe, and we will see you in the next one.